Okay, so after a whole night of drinking at the tavern, you kind of start to wake up. You realize that you're kind of like laying on a bar counter. In your right hand, you have like an empty bottle of elven wine, and on your left hand, you have a severed arm.
I want to eat it.
Um, I okay.
I want to eat the arm.
Okay, you take a bite out of the arm, and it tastes like human flesh. Um,
Tastes like chicken.
Roll me a Constitution saving throw at disadvantage.
Disadvantage?
Yeah,
Is it infected?
maybe.
That's a 20, yeah.
Yeah, D20, but disadvantage. So lowest number. Yeah.
Oh, so 2.
Yeah, so 2. So the lowest number. Yeah, plus your modifiers.
9.
Oof. Okay, yeah, you take a bite of the arm, and as soon as you do that, it starts grabbing you by the neck, it starts choking you.
Okay, wait. I'm. Yas. Oh, Aqua. The light. The light is.
Again.
Hello.
Can the staff please tell us when we're live? Hi, welcome to Nightcore Narrative. I'm Aqua.
I am Elvish. Hello. There are demons that we are not going to discuss in today's episode. That is for a later date.
Listen, I'm working on a new homebrew campaign. I'm trying to work out a few kinks, but that is not what I meant when it came to the choking.
It's fine. Listen, we'll revisit that later. Anyway, oh shit. Hey.
Yeah.
Do you still have the author pulled up?
Yes, I got the author. Did you forget again?
Can you do the intro?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Whoops.
Someone failed the history check. Hi, Nightcore Narrative. Today we are totally not just going straight into it. Professionals. We're doing a series. We're doing a series about Dungeons and Dragons and dating and things like that. This one is book 2 out of a series, and it is called Dating and Dragons, as the first one was Dungeons and Drama. This is book 2, but it's also a standalone. This is also by Christy Boyce.
Which, if you did or did not see the last video, we are...
most definitely did.
Right?
Definitely did. You better.
I didn't get my forehead kiss. Kristen.
I got a really wet one from this guy named Carl. It was weird.
The irony. Moving on.
That was the first thing I thought of. Any Hoosier Whistles.
Okay.
Yes. So
this is unofficially officially part 2, so we don't do videos in parts, but this is technically part 2. But it's not part 2, so don't call it part 2. Or do.
Yeah.
I don't care.
We're gonna forget.
But yes, Dating and Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why, and I guess we'll go ahead and say this now, and I kind of already mentioned it in the first one, which you definitely totally watched. This is part of a series, as mentioned before, but at the same time, it's kind of its own standalone because it has no real ties.
It does not. And as we mentioned in the first one too, it's really funny because we unintentionally read them in the wrong order. I personally read book 1 first, unintentionally.
I read book 2 first.
Exactly. But the funniest thing is book 1 resonated with me a little bit more, but book 2 resonated more with him. So it's kind of funny that that's why we're kind of not doing it in parts, because this is his favorite out of the series.
Yeah, and there's only 2 in the series.
I'm pointing at you IRL as if you can see me, by the way.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see it.
Okay.
Anyways. I can see it through the Discord call.
Hell yeah. Oh,
Hell yeah.
Don't give away our secrets.
I know. Podcaster, spoilers.
Oh, we'll have enough money for a real studio one day.
But basement works too.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, so this one I resonate more with only because I am a little biased about it. But even despite my bias, out of both books, this has a little bit more of actual like D&D into it, I
it
guess,
does.
incorporated. And so it's a lot more centered around D&D, along with everything else on top of it for the main story. Um, so,
Which, I
but we'll get
mean,
to that more.
right. And even though this wasn't, I'm gonna just be completely honest, this was not my favorite book out of the two. I I liked the beginning, but then towards the end, I just got really bored and it wasn't it. However, even though they don't technically say what they stream on, everything they describe, they stream their D&D on Twitch, which if you
Oh yeah,
guys don't know, we are both Twitch streamers, so that was actually really
really
interesting to
nice.
see. Like I really liked that part. And we have
Yeah.
actually streamed our old D&D session on Twitch, so that was really cool as well.
So it kind of hit home for both of us. At least in that aspect. For me, on the kind of like the main plot, that kind of resonated with me more. Most because I've actually kind of been through it, like or like kind of like seen it from the DM's perspective. But it'll make sense here. So I guess this time I'll do kind of the description.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So this is our main heroine is Quinn Norton. Um, she went to a new high school, and kind of like midway. And the reason why she had changed is because some bad blood happened with her previous D&D group. She's an avid D&D player. She's played it before. She's been with groups. Her last group, she's had a bit of falling out because there was dating involved. Hence the name Dating and Dragons. That didn't go well because she was like, well, you know what? I kind of don't really like you that way. Let's just be friends. And the guy's like, ugh, I'm so butthurt. I'm gonna make it everyone's problem now. So she lost her best friend there. Turns out that, spoiler alert, had feelings for the boy that she was kissing. Oh no,
Dun dun dun.
drama. And so it worked out for them too. But basically, just bad blood, had a bad falling out, and she moved schools because of it. Her parents kind of helped out on that, and so. But Quinn Norton, our main heroine, on the first day of school, she had a very lovely grandma.
I
I
love the
love
grandma.
grandma. She was awesome.
I
She is
love
definitely the
grandma.
meddling. She is the meddling grandma. It is so good.
Now, I am going to put a pin in it, but I loved everything that happens with the grandma at the end. I love everything about that, but we'll get there. Continue. I'm sorry.
You're good. I love the grandma. The grandma added so much extra little pizzazz.
I mean,
Um,
grandma was a whole bottle of pizzazz just in her own self.
True, very true. But yeah. So she ended up, thanks to grandma, she ended up making some friends after doing, a quote unquote first day of school picture in the middle, basically, the school year, more or less, and ended up, finding some friends who turns out to play D&D. And ended up getting invited to said group. We've already met Logan Weber, which is the guy that she was kind of like ooh, making my eyes that to him, um, and was actually the one who took the picture for the grandma and for Quinn. So they were already kind of hitting it off already. Sparkles were flying. But yeah, and I think someone here did not like Logan.
I did not like oh my okay. I
But
did, oh
we'll
my
get
god.
there. We'll get there. We'll get there. But don't worry, there's long-winded explanation. It's just me being a DM and going with all the details. But no, basically gets to join the group. Turns out that they do their campaign a very specific time in a very specific manner because, as mentioned before, they live stream it. And so she gets invited. She joins the group. However, Mr. Logan started to kind of not want her to join because the group has a few set of rules. And one of the big rules is that you do not date within the D&D group. So Quinn and Logan already sparks fine, can't date each other. Logan's like, "Nuh-uh, don't want you to be here. So I'm gonna be a sourpuss to you, and a jerk, and an
Oh,
ass." And so, yeah, yeah, they had feelings for each other. It kind of develops throughout the story, and eventually there's some blows between the previous group and her new group. It was mostly Quinn trying to navigate her feelings with Logan, trying to do things from behind the scenes. They keep saying we can't be doing this, but they do it anyways. Sort of things.
I can't wait to
Uh,
tell you my very first thing in my notes.
I think I kind of already knew because I remember you messaging me about it when when you started it. But yeah. But all that aside, turns out that Quinn turns out to be the new favorite on the live stream for the D&D group. So kind of solidifying her spot there. And then the whole thing with Logan and them, slowly warming up to each other. And basically towards the end, they end up getting together. They end up changing the rules. And it turns out the DM, they are named Sloan, um, kind of figured out that they were getting the hots for each other. So, yeah, that's pretty much the summarized version with details in the beginning and the little bad drawing of butt end of the horse explanation that I like to give.
Um, the only thing that you did miss, which I cannot believe you missed this, Miss Pizzazz grandma, we actually find out, at the end that the grandma and Quinn's parents were actually watching the live streams and supporting her from a
Ah,
distance.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's right.
However, the one thing I liked, there was massive talk in the book about the grandmother kind of going to assisted living because, she has falls. She's not very capable of providing for herself anymore, which is pretty unfortunate. But when she is in the assisted living home, she requests that she learns D&D so that her and the other old geezers can play D&D on their free time.
Yeah, have something to do together. They get to feel, young again and have some fun.
And I love the grandma so much, truly.
Yeah. I love the ending of how everything wrapped up too.
So the thing is, okay, the beginning of this book was great. The ending of this book was even better, but the entire middle of the book, I would say maybe easily like 25 chapters, I could do without. Personally, I could do without. But the ending and the beginning saved the rating quite a bit. But that's the only reason why this book didn't resonate with me. But the thing is, with me personally, because I don't have too much to say about this book, so I'm going to just get it out up front. Me personally, I absolutely love the grumpy sunshine trope. It's honestly one of my favorites, including like enemies to lovers. I get that. Those are like my favorite tropes. But very rarely you get the book that's written to a certain extent where the grumpy just out grumps the sunshine. And it got to the point where Logan was so obnoxiously insufferable where I'm not gonna lie to you, I almost DNF'd this book at least like 30% in. The reason why I didn't is because I wanted to keep it fair. In the podcast, we typically try not to DNF. We've only actually DNF'd maybe 2 books, maybe 3 max. So it's not a very common thing. So I was like, you know what? Aqua's getting through it. Aqua already read it. So out of fairness for him, I'm going to finish it. And I'm glad that I did because, the ending was great. But
Yeah.
Logan was...
You did not like Logan at all.
Logan was insufferable. And my very first note is, why is Logan such an asshole? Mind you, my notes are never like that, but like it got to the point where it was no longer enjoyable. It got to the point where any time Logan's name popped up in the book, there was an like unusual amount of banter. And I'm not talking about the banter that's like oh, that's cute, or like, oh, I'm laughing out loud. Like, it was just banter. He was so openly rude and disrespectful. And it got to the point where, like, if this guy was saying all of this stuff to me and treating me this way, he would not be in my life. And I would not be in this D&D group. Like, he was so offensive, disrespectful. I didn't like him. And then the thing that really confused me too, typically, and I mean, I keep saying typically because I mean, I know this is not every other book, every book does their own thing, but typically in the grumpy sunshine trope, you have the grumpy, 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 and over time, the sunshine starts to take over, and somewhere in the middle, you can start seeing change, and at the end, the grumpy is better, happy, sunshine is happy, they're together, kumbaya. Nowhere in this book do we see change. Literally nowhere in this book. And I even went back and I had to reread the same part. Nowhere in this book do you see change. He goes from being insufferable to where you can't even like stand to even hear his name to the very next moment. And mind you, at this time, the writing is very, in my opinion, the writing in this book was a little bit more juvenile than it should be. It was very Wattpad, middle school-esque, but then the very next paragraph, it's a description of how he liked the way she licked her lips. Mind you, there's no spice in these books, by the way, but it went from a very juvenile writing to a very adult sentence back to juvenile writing. And then from that point on, he was like a saint. So I was very confused on how it was literally the like flip of a switch. Like there was no change whatsoever. It was just like, I really hate you. Hey, like, so yeah, we're cool now, right? Like it doesn't work that way. And at that point, the book was already ruined. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the book was good if it didn't have Logan in it. He ruined it. He put a sour taste in my mouth. I did not. I want nothing to do with this book because of how horrible he was. And I've never said that about a book, but he doesn't do it for me personally. So that's my 2 cents.
Man, you really did not like Logan. I know you told me you didn't like Logan, but I didn't know how much to an extent.
No, like
we try to like when me and Elvish like talk, like, you know, throughout when we're like reading books, we give some, like, I wouldn't say details. Like we give us like a the thing and that and then oh god, you know, the thing, the person, the dude is stupid. You know, we do things like that. We kind of like tell each other like what we're kind of feeling about the book without giving out details because we never know if someone else is there or not. And so Elvish definitely was like, oh, I'm gonna DNF this.
Yeah.
You know, just straight up to it. I'm like, oh.
We do a lot of gifts as well.
Ooh. Yes. I should have done the gnome gift when you sent that to me. I'm like, whoo. You know, when you first sent that, I was like, I was surprised because at the moment, like, I was like busy at work, and so I was like, you know, getting the messages, and it just showed that you sent me a message, but it wasn't showing me the preview. And then when it finally showed me the preview, it just said DNF, and I'm like, huh?
Well, and you know, that's the thing too. That's like what I was saying. Like, I'm the person where I don't want to openly ever DNF a book because I mean, I am very critical on books and ratings. I'm not going to just give out 5 stars like it's nothing, even though this month has been shocking, but it was just too much. Like, I like a grumpy sunshine. Like, if you're gonna be on 10, at least go to a 9, 8, 7, you know. This, like Logan, right, on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 already being like, okay, you're walking the line, Logan was constantly on like a 50 the entire book until randomly mid-paragraph he switches to like a 2. And I'm just like, okay, at this point, you know, we're already like 20 chapters into it. There's maybe like 10 to 15 chapters left. I no longer care. Like, you've already beat up the main character, like the female main character, so much to where I, as a reader, now feel beat up as well. Like, I no longer care about your salvation to your attitude or whatever. Like it just, I don't know. The book, it,
It made him feel irredeemable to you.
yeah, and like the book was good. Like the beginning of the book was good. The ending of the book was good. I don't personally care for the middle, so for that, I can't really speak on this book too much, but I will try.
It's all good. For me, I generally like the story. I see where you're coming from with like the whole grump thing. I kind of just it kind of drowned out for me because like I just gonna keep staying like this. So I kind of like I wouldn't say ignore it. I just like it was kind of like background noise for me when he was like that. Whenever he did like the changes of like of his character, like he said, he went from 10 to like a 2. That's when I kind of tuned in more because like oh something different.
Yeah,
You know, not to realize, oh, it's still Logan. I was like, oh, okay, so he is kind of changing, but he does fluctuate. So it's like, you know, he's up, goes down, then all the way back up to the ceiling. You know, it'd be different if it was like he was up and goes back down. Okay, I get that, a drop. You know, there's like something that happened that just caused him to drop and realize something. And then it'd be different if like he got up, maybe just a little bit. You know, still trying to work on it, but trying to like a struggle to keep it down. You know,
yeah,
to show like trying, but it was kind of like, you know, like let's say like it was a habit or like he got used to it or trying to keep up an appearance, you know, or something like that. But this was just kind of too naturally to go all the way up. So I understand where your conflict comes from Logan, but
yeah,
for me he kind of just blended in. I was more focused on Quinn, and the story itself I kind of like, you know, the dealing with like other D&D groups. For me it was more of the structure versus anything else, and also the concept too of the actual like narrative of the story, so of the D&D aspect, because as a DM I've kind of like dealt with the situation of this book to where, you know, two people, you know, I know have like dated that are players, you know, they get into a campaign and, you know, something had happened to where it causes a kind of like a falling out, and, you know, one of them ends up leaving the group. Of course, that was kind of the scare on this one, um, like towards the end, because like they were trying to do that as well. So there,
yeah,
I guess that's kind of like one thing I kind of missed. Well, I wouldn't say missed, but as to kind of give more context, they were trying to eventually they were going to tell the whole group, you know. But of course, there were like interpersonal problems between her and the side characters. Mostly one of them in particular that actually would seem to have feelings for Logan. But of course, both of them still trying to keep their secrets to each other and things like that kind of didn't help out either. You know, so they're trying to like tiptoe so much, and you know, it ends up causing the damage of the dynamic of the group. And but of course, in the end, everything works out. You know,
right,
which is great. But I guess for me, what resonated the most was because of all that was happening in the background. That's what kind of like drew me into liking this one most than the first book. Don't get me wrong, the first book is great. I enjoyed it. I would recommend both these books. Not as like it's like, oh my god, you like this is an imperative that you read this book. And it's like, you want something chill to read? And you like Dungeons and Dragons being part of it? So you can get some of the references there too. Do these two books.
yeah,
Feel like a little romance palate cleanser. But this one hits more because it has a little bit more D&D to it versus the other book in terms of like how things are going on. Most because it's more centered because it is about the D&D group and about the live stream, which is a big part. And so I know I probably sound very repetitive, but it's just I'm kind of just like tying everything together in a knot.
right,
Uh, but yeah, but that's what kind of affected me because I've had something happen to me before with one of my groups previously. Um, and so to where, like I said, two people were kind of like, you know, end up getting together, things kind of happen in the background, you know, and then, but at this one ends up leaving in reality. And so, you know, of course, it's just, it happens. It is what it is. And it's usually the more of the outsider that leaves versus the insider, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
like the newer member is the one who ends up leaving versus the older member, because the older member, you know, they have a bit more mileage with the rest of the group. They have already had the camaraderie, the comfort, versus with the new person. And so I kind of wish, you know, in most like campaigns, and I'm not the only DM. I'm sure there are other DMs out there I kind of on this one, in the comments, if you're a DM, shout out to you guys. No life, DM, no life, and so like it happens to people. I've heard like stories of other DMs when I've talked to other DMs before that they've had similar situations, practically just like this, just without the their live stream aspect. And so it's a common thing, and it's just relatable for those who are in the know. And you don't have to be a DM to even experience this. You can be a player on the side that also witnesses this too, as well.
I mean,
And
technically, we kind of witnessed something similar in our D&D campaign to an
yeah,
extent.
to an extent, it just wasn't the romantic type of thing. It was
Right.
more of a situational type of thing. So, but going based off just the pure romance, a romance kind of relationship causing the strife within the D&D group, um, that's more what I'm kind of focused on this one. And it's because I've seen that specific part, and of course, what happened to the our group and things like that. Um, that's the whole other thing, but it's also very similar, just different contexts.
Right.
And so that's why this one resonated with me more. I guess it was more kind of like the correlation of like D&D and the story and how things fold out more than anything else. Um, and it's funny because when you mentioned the whole thing about very very Wattpad type of writing, and then towards very adult, I didn't even realize that until you mentioned it. And then when you said, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that did
Right.
happen.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I didn't
mean,
notice it at first because I was so focused on the dynamic of the D&D campaign and the relationship that honestly I kind of missed that part.
it didn't happen too often. I think it only happened maybe 2 times in the book,
I
but
think it's
I
three
just
because I think one
maybe
of them was very like heavily hinted to be adult, but it wasn't there. So maybe like a 2.5.
right, but it just like the 13 going on 30 movie, that's basically what it felt like. Like it
Mm,
sounded, I mean, okay, so I believe they're in high school. The way the book is
yeah.
written, me personally, it sounds like they're in middle school. But
Okay.
eh,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
but like it's like the entire book, they're written as, in my opinion, middle schoolers, and then a sentence comes out and it sounds like they're grown ass men in a corporate job. And I'm like, wait, what? And then it goes back to being middle school. And I'm just like, I was
Yeah.
so confused. Like, I don't even know what to take of that. And I don't know if that's necessarily like a writing flaw with the author, but the inconsistencies with the writing is something that also turned me off a little bit because I don't know if it was done intentionally. If it was, I don't personally see a reasoning behind it. So it might be one of those things, like I always say, if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't. I probably don't know. So I'm not going to necessarily fault the author for that, but I don't personally see why the book needed to be as inconsistent as it was.
It was very much not your cup of tea.
It was not, but the first
Yeah.
one was. But the
Yeah.
book wasn't bad.
That was
Don't get me wrong. The book was not bad. The book was good. I just think making the main character worse than an evil villain times 10 on steroids, there's a point of writing a character, pushing it too far, and it was beyond too far. It
yeah.
it should have been taken down a notch.
That's funny because you messaged that. I think you messaged that me on Discord verbatim.
Probably.
Yeah.
I've been so, I don't know.
Yeah.
Aw. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but
It's
this,
just,
but this book was very short, and I enjoyed this one personally.
but yeah, I did not mean to interrupt. Continue.
Oh no no no! Oh no no! You're good. I mean that was pretty much it. I mean, because honestly, that was the dynamic, and I guess the part of the why I'm kind of a little more biased to it is because of that. There is a little personal connection on my end, but even without the personal connection, I can see it, like
Yeah.
how that dynamic like that would affect a group in many many ways, and this just happens to be the best outcome.
Well, and then, actually thinking about it, with you saying the outcome, There's something else I thought about too, and this might just be me being incredibly picky, but you also know that we are very picky when it comes to ratings here.
Right.
In the first book, um, Riley's father gets in an accident, and that becomes one of the side plots at the end.
Right.
Um, in the same, breath, in this book, the grandma also gets in an accident at the very end and makes it a mini side plot. So I don't see,
Oh.
right, like
Oh
you
my
see
God,
that?
you're right. Yeah.
So reading that as well, that kind of, because I was already fed up with this book. Like I said, by the time the ending happened, the ending was great. It did salvage it, but I was already fed up at that point. It kind of felt very repetitive. It's kind of the meme, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just don't make it noticeable. But she quite literally copied to a T. And that kind of made me,
Off-putted.
yeah, that kind of put an even sour taste in my mouth. So I think that's what hindered the rating as well at the end of the day.
Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah, because I think it was Riley's father had like a heart attack or like a heart attack scare. So
Yeah,
that was the accident catalyst because ended up falling, I believe, or the chest pain and things like that. And this one was
right.
quite literally an actual like car wreck,
Yeah,
which they came out very unscathed, which is amazing, especially since the car got totaled. So from what I understand, the car got totaled and they made it out okay,
right.
wreck, which is fine because that can happen. So, but yeah, but no, I think it's funny because I resonate with, like we said earlier, I resonate more with this book and you resonate more with the other one, most because the other book was more of your style and this one was more of its structure.
Right. I
So
actually do
it's
agree
kind of
with that.
funny.
I like the structure of this book a little bit more than the first one because the first one was Dungeons and Drama, and the cover clearly shows Dungeons and Dragons, and it does talk about it a little bit, but you don't get too much of the gameplay. And this one
Right. You
actually,
get a lot more.
right. So I do like the structure of this book better than the first, but I like the likability of the characters from the first one more than this one. So it's a very hit or miss because we'll get to it, but the first rating, if you saw that one, was a 3.5 for me and a 3 for him. I'll just give you my rating now. I thought this book was a 3. Like I said, it wasn't the worst.
Hmm.
So I think a 3 is pretty well deserved because I mean the beginning and the ending were great. However, if we put the whole series together, and if we ignored the, like, okay, if we put the series together and made it one book, but then obviously like fit it to be the same characters, this book could have easily been like a 4.5. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If kind of like
If we
yeah, because if
interchanged
we
some of the characters, if we did the
right,
plot from the second one, but we kept
if we
the
blend it,
game story, right? If we blended both books into one, this would have easily been like a 4.5, maybe a 4.75. Was it a five
and
star? No, but separately, the books don't do enough to withhold their own standalone books, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. No, I see what you're saying. No, I agree. And even if something's kind of changed a little bit, it might even have the ability to become a 5 star too. If we
Right.
do like you said, the combination.
No, I
And it's
agree.
funny, you rate this a 3. My minimum rating, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I was about to laugh, but I stifled it. So you gave the last book like what? It was like 3.5, 3.75, right? Something like that.
3.75.
Yeah. I rated this one at 3.75.
Wait.
and
Wait.
you rate this a 3, and I rate the last book a 3. So it just goes to show that if these two books find a way to meld and fusion, not to mention roll the d20 and pass, with a natural 20, it would have been a 5 star hands down.
All right, let's
To
see
be a
if this was
really
a
good
5 star.
book.
Let's see if it was
Huh.
a 5 star.
All right, let's roll a d20. Go ahead.
Oh, I got a nat 20.
Hey,
Oh,
let's
see,
go.
so okay, so that just shows that Fate, this would have been a 5 star if both books were
Yes.
blended into one.
Hmm. things were moved around a little bit and kind of like mixed in a few things, put in the pot together, do the little fusion Dragon Ball Z dance, it would have been great. Really good. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Touch
I love both
tips.
these books. Yeah, they touch tips properly in Doc. Um, we're not gonna get to that. So both books were good. This one
That
was
is
more
funny.
my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And the other one was your cup of tea. And this one had a higher rating with me than the other one.
Which
I would recommend this book more.
I really do believe, truly, I do honestly think that I would have given this the same rating as you if Logan wasn't such an asshole. But they pushed him to the point where it actually crossed every line, except for like obviously like trigger warnings, but it crossed so many lines that I couldn't forgive him at the end when he finally decided to snap to being a decent human being. So that's the only thing that really hindered my thing. And then the repetitive plot, that's the only other thing. But this was a really good book. I do agree.
Yeah. Yeah, this book was very enjoyable. I like this one more. Like I said, for me it was the structure. There was more D&D to it. This felt more of like an actual like D&D, like drama novella type book because it did have more of it there, And
I do wish the first one had more.
Yeah, I did too. Honestly, if the other book was good, I enjoyed it. If it had more D&D to it, I would have loved it more. I would have definitely at least got the same rating as this one.
I think if the first book had more D&D and probably a little less of the side romance like with Nathan and Sophia, I think that could have easily been a 4-star or maybe a 4.5.
Or if anything, maybe more depth to the characters so that they stand out more and provide more substance. I think that would carry it to a 5 because me and Elvish, we do like when characters like really stand out and they bring something to the table to enrich the story.
Which I mean, that kind of brings me to that point too. I actually didn't even think about this until you just said that. If you watched the previous video, you know that I personally thought that the characters had zero depth to them, and it got to the point where you couldn't really tell who was who, and they all just bled together into one massive character. For me personally, I know Aqua might disagree with this. I feel like the bleeding and like the blending in together was worse in this book. I can't even tell you. There's twins in this book. I can't even tell you who the twins are. I can't even tell you which twin is what. There's also the DM, Sloan. I can't tell them apart from the twins. Sloan might be one of the twins. I have no idea. I can't tell them apart. It's literally Quinn, Logan. I know Andrew is the brother, and then you have all the side characters. And there's just no structure to any of the characters besides the main ones. And I think that really hurts, not necessarily this book, but possibly like other books that this author may have. I hope if this author does have other books, I hope they're structurally better, if that makes sense.
If you can meld both books together and kind of get the best of both, then it'd be great.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I disagree a little bit, but at the same time, I do agree a little bit too with your statement on the characters. I'll be honest, the twins were hard to tell apart, but then again, it makes sense that they're twins. Right. But some of the other side characters, I wasn't too sure sometimes. Sloan, I was able to pick up because they were the only person called them.
Yeah.
And so that helped out quite a bit. It was pretty, it had to be very poignant for me to notice it.
Well, at that point though, just to cut you off, which I never do, but to cut you off, you only knew it was Sloan because it said them, but when Sloan was talking, were you able to tell them apart from anyone else?
That's the hard part in terms of agreeing to that, mostly because once I found out Sloan was the DM, I was able to gather the way how a DM would talk, especially during the D&D session. I was just able to tell.
Well, DM-wise, yeah, but outside of the DM-wise, they did really good. but
Mhm.
outside of the game, I couldn't tell them apart.
I was able to tell once I got used to them as DMing because, and the reason why is because the way how they did the in between, whenever they were doing the setup in the D&D campaign, like okay, you're at the beach now, you're about to fight these guys, blah blah blah. They very much threw the encounter at the players, which some DMs do, and the correlation I did with that to make sure that I knew who was who on Sloan specifically, when they went at the diner, she had them help out with wrapping up the utensils with the napkins, and the way how they like, hey, you're gonna do this, help me out. It's the same speech type of pattern, or I guess text pattern in this aspect, and this the story. The way how they said it was very much almost like a complete, slightly more natural, way versus a forced way, because you're acting it. A natural way of them DMing, their DM style is very much like their actual conversation style. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, that makes complete sense, actually. Yeah.
So once I was able to get that, I was able to single out Sloane and her dialogue because I just kept in DM mode, like DM brain. And then when I did that, I was able to get a lot more of the details in the characters. The best friend became more pronounced because the way how the best friend was very much like her character. And then with Quinn, she is also kind of high energy the more she got comfortable, which reflected on her character in the D&D as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And I mean, judging by everything that you just said, I mean, you basically agreed. Um, I don't feel like side characters, like, not saying anything in a bad way about like the author or the specific book, but I feel like if you're going to put in side characters to that extent, they have to be unique in their own way, or it's just going to make a super muddy plot and just hinder the, reader's experience, I guess. I mean, I'm trying so hard to like not say anything bad because I don't mean anything bad, but I know it's going to slip out. But there's no ill intentions behind it. I just think that the side characters are so muddy. That's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, we're trying to say this in more of a constructive way. We I mean, I personally like these book, and some
Yeah.
of the criticisms I do have, which I do agree with Elvish. Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
big sneeze. Bless you.
Yeah, it's a huge sneeze. Oh,
Wow.
my
You feel
chest,
better?
it hurts. I feel like I got hit with a frying pan.
Oh,
Um, Hold on, let me roll a history check to remember my sentence. Um, well, I failed. I can't remember now. Lost my train. I sneezed out my train of thought.
I can't help you, unfortunately.
I know. Um, I really did forget. I really did lose my train of thought. Oh
We
no.
were talking about Sloane and side characters being muddy and
Right. I got it. Okay. Um,
don't sneeze again.
I was just about to. But yeah, we do mean the criticism in a more constructive way because we like the book. We like the concept of the
Right.
book, or at least I know I do for sure, and I'm pretty sure Elvish appreciates the concept too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then me
I was about to
personally,
lean over and whisper, right.
well, and me personally too, though. Outside of just this book, people are too quick to jump to the horrible side of things. And if I was an author, like I want to write a book, but if I was an author, rather than people just being disrespectful and rude for no reason, I would want those people that actually enjoyed the book to give me constructive criticism so that if there is a book 3, I can possibly do better or improve on something. So that's definitely like our goal here.
Yeah, we're trying to give criticism out of love and want for not just better, for better experience, for the readers, of course,
Right.
but also to to promote, like, I guess, a sense that we can be able to give each other criticism and be able to take it in the chin and not take it as like a kind of like, oh, you suck sort of thing.
Right. Well, and
Because
I
like we're telling
mean,
you this because we're not saying that to be mean. We're saying that because we want to see the success.
exactly. And with that also being said, this means that, even though I didn't resonate with this book as much as the first, I want to see a third book. And if a third
Me
book
too.
comes out, we're most likely going to read it and rate it on the podcast because I truly want to hear it. I want to see it. So this is for hopes of a new and possibly better book.
Third book. Mhm. And who knows? Maybe it might be the book that ties these into a real series.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that'd be
That
crazy.
that sound like a jab in a way. I didn't mean that to sound like a jab because they're both kind of like their own standalone, but they're a series.
Right, exactly. It's a series with their
I didn't.
standalones. Like that'd be crazy if like the two worlds collided and it made like the third book, both books combined?
Come on.
Question mark.
Yeah, that or have them there. Maybe they're the supporting characters this time.
Yeah.
Who
Oh
knows?
yeah.
Yeah, maybe their not podcast their stream ended up having a rival DM group, and I don't know, something like that. So who knows?
Well, that's great.
You good?
No, I
Is
just
it the
choked.
elven wine? Is it the elven wine or the human arm that's choking you right now?
The arm.
Ah.
Oh my god. Wow.
Don't worry. You're free from the grapple. You did the check. You passed. Well, actually, it failed in that one. But we're not gonna talk about that.
Damn, that actually sucked. But yeah, I mean, I'm here hoping for a third book, but
Same.
until then, the books were good. I do recommend them to an extent.
Mhm.
If you're
Like a
wanting,
palate
right, like a palate cleanser. If you're wanting straight romance, I personally don't recommend them. If you're wanting cute, fun, like Aqua just said, a palate cleanser, I recommend. They're good.
Yeah, same here. I recommend, of course, Dating and Dragons more than Dungeons and Drama, but both are good. I
And
would
I'm the
probably
complete
lean
opposite.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm the complete opposite. I would suggest and recommend Dungeons and Drama more than Datings and Dragons. So, maybe, and if you watch both of these videos and if you actually read both of the books, let us know which one you recommend as well because I find that funny.
And then, once you make a comment and tell us about it, roll initiative if you say something terrible, because we're gonna be fighting. And I got high niche.
Oh,
Anyways,
well, yeah.
but yeah, I think that practically wraps it up. At least for me, it does. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that being
Well.
said, nobody die. Oh, like we are. And
Okay.
oh god,
Why did you eat the human arm? Why did you eat the arm? Out of all things,
it looked tasty.
why?
It looks
Why does it? What is your race again?
well, listen. I am a bard.
Uh huh.
I had a song about extra green
Uh-huh.
flesh, and this flesh had a little bit of green in it. I'm just
I'm gonna tell you now.
I'm just-
Eating a Yankee arm is not smart. Okay.
it's fine.
boy.
It's fine. I'll have, the bubblies all the way to find a potion. We're good.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, the Gith Yankee missing the arm has come back, and he's looking for his arm back. So,
Well, damn, that sucks.
yeah, so we're gonna have to deal with this real quick. Violence. Yeah, you might need to join in the group violence. We're gonna speak your character.
Gigi no Ri?
I'm gonna make Vance into a cleric. I think you're gonna need a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get you a healer. All right, well, this is Night Court narrative.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.